Hey, what's going on, guys? Crash Businessman here. Today I want to talk about homelessness. So, I think that both sides of the aisle get this totally wrong in so many different ways. The right gets it wrong because of ignorance, and the left gets it wrong because of ignorance, except they disguise it as virtue and like compassion and empathy and stuff. But they're both fucking idiots. So, here's the actual truth. First of all, let's discuss what we mean by homelessness. When we talk about it in a crisis capacity, what we're talking about is the degenerate homeless scum that are leaving used syringes and crack pipes and creating 10 million tons of garbage and vandalizing bus stops and creating shanty towns that end up being open air drug markets and committing crimes and all this other horrific stuff. That's the crisis part that we're trying to address whenever we talk about the homelessness crisis. When a lot of the time what happens is people will attempt to kind of shift the goalposts a little bit, or they'll try to misrepresent what homelessness is and try to broaden the definition so that it sounds less compassionate when we're talking about homelessness. It's like, well, homelessness is just individuals lacking a fixed, regular, adequate nighttime residence. Like that's, like we're talking about, families that are just down on their luck and all this other crap. It's like, no, that's not part of the crisis portion, because that number represents a very, very, very small amount of people. The number that we're talking about are the crackheads that are falling asleep standing up at the bus stop that are making our lives miserable by just denigrating every single component of the places that they inhabit. They're constantly stealing from every establishment they go into. They have absolutely no respect for anyone or anything. They dart into traffic. They don't obey any traffic laws. They just walk in the middle of the street, causing vehicles and stuff that to lock their brakes up and stuff. It's not fair. Is the bottom line? Is that the way they're living is not fair. The common go-to is people will say, "Oh my God, well, they got mental illness. They got mental illness," and you're like, "Well, okay, that's just a blanket term. What the fuck do you mean they've got a mental illness?" Because first of all, I don't care. The reason I don't care is because that is irrespective of what you're allowed to do. Because I was diagnosed with PTSD, okay, and like, this isn't a free pass to do whatever the fuck I want to do. Like, if I went and just committed some sort of heinous crime, like I went over and I found the next person and just beat the fucking piss out of him for no reason. Does that mean it's okay because I have a mental illness now? No. Like, having a mental illness is not a free pass to just do whatever the hell you want to do, absent consequence. It's like, okay, well, the thing you did still caused the harm, and so that needs to be stopped in some capacity. And then this always leads to people saying, well, they don't have enough resources. There's just not enough resources. There are plenty of fucking resources. There is actually such an abundance of resources now that it's insulting. It's insulting to our ancestors to say you don't have enough resources to not be a piece of shit. Like, fuck me. I mean, you have access to a free phone through the government, and this has access to all the information that we have, like, in the world. You can learn any skill you want to learn on YouTube, and it's pretty fucking adequate. And like, you can go to the library for free. Like, you can go there for free. Rehab is free. You can go to any one of these clinics. There's just so many fucking resources. That's just not true. It is objectively untrue that there aren't enough resources. And people will say, well, without stable housing, how is someone supposed to... It's like, look, someone that's capable of spending 6 hours chewing through a chain link fence in order to steal the 30-cent brass fitting that I had on the end of my hose at my shop. that shows that they're capable of doing stuff. They are physically capable of doing stuff. And to say they don't have any resources, they're very fucking resourceful when it comes to shit they want to do. Like, 6 hours. I watched this on my fucking security camera. 6 hours for this person to not actually chew, but yanking on my chain link fence until they could get a hole big enough to fit through, and they stole a 30-cent fitting on the end of my hose. And didn't unscrew it, they fucking cut it. And they didn't even cut it straight, which is just infuriating, you know. But, you know, and then there's just when you go down this rabbit hole, you're going to find that none of these excuses hold water. Like, none of them hold water. They're like, and again, we're addressing the majority of the issue. So put a check in the box. Is homelessness an issue? Yeah, it's a fucking issue. It is a huge issue. And you got to ask yourself this question. What does it say about a person who has absolutely nobody on the planet willing to let them crash on their couch while they figure their shit out? Like, what does that say about that person? Like, I can go up to a complete stranger and say, "Hey, excuse me, you know, I'm really down on my luck right now. You know, I'm trying to fix my situation. I made a lot of mistakes. Would it be all right if I could just use your bathroom to clean up a little bit? I promise I won't make a mess. I'm just trying to get back on my feet." Like, a lot of people will say yes, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah, come on. You know, like, there's a myriad of different charitable organizations and stuff that their heart's in the right place, but they're just making the problem exponentially worse by just handing out food and stuff. It's like, the problem isn't that they don't have food. That's not the fucking problem. The problem is that they have absolutely no accountability or responsibility for anything. And they don't have to abide by any rules because no one's enforcing any rules whatsoever. And so they can just live however the fuck they want. So, is the problem with the rules? No, the problem's not with the rules. I don't think that it's so taxing to have to use a crosswalk when you don't have a job, you don't have any responsibilities, and you can't take an extra 10 seconds to actually go through the crosswalk so that you don't endanger someone else's life by just darting into traffic. Because this shit happens. It does fucking happen. Trying to avoid hitting the guy, you know, and oh shit, crashing into another car. Shit always happens. Happens a lot. And what's the reason? Couldn't be bothered to use the crosswalk because, I mean, fuck, why? You know, it's insane. And then, you know, people will move on from that to, well, you just don't understand. You just don't understand what they're going through. Also false. I was homeless for a brief period of time. And it was completely my own doing. Completely my own doing. You know what I didn't do, though? I didn't do fucking drugs. Okay? I didn't do fucking drugs. I made some terrible financial decisions that were completely my fault. 100%. It wasn't the system and the systemic structures and the systematic structures of the systems. No, it was me making piss poor financial decisions, 100% on me. And granted, this was a very atypical situation in which I was getting back from deployment and divorced from my wife, and this is my first wife. I was divorced, and I had no place to go back to. Or I'm sorry, we were legally separated, but I had no place to go back to, and I wasn't allowed to go back to the barracks because I still wasn't legally divorced yet. So, and I only had 3 months left on my contract, and this is in California. And so I'm like, all right, I don't want to spend the meager savings that I've accumulated over the last 5 years. Stupid thing to do, to not save your fucking money. And I decided to try to save the little bit that I could by just roughing it in the streets. I had a tent trailer that I pulled with my car, and I just parked and lived in that for like 3 months because I didn't want to spend ridiculous California prices last month of a security deposit on a place that I was only going to stay in like for 3 months, and I just did not want to fucking waste that money. I was like, I can rough it for a couple of months, and so that's what I did. That's literally just what I did. Was I just roughed it for a couple of months in a tent trailer, and was homeless. I was actually homeless, but I didn't do drugs. I showered every day because I just went to the fucking gym, and I actually saved quite a bit of money and was able to do a lot of thrifty spending and thrifty saving by doing that. And like, yeah, granted, not every situation is like this. I would in fact say that most situations are not like this. But the central premise remains the same, that you don't have to be a shithead just because you're homeless. Like, you don't have to throw every piece of garbage directly on the ground and just disrespect everybody. I never took a shit in front of a business because I was homeless. Like, I wouldn't fucking do that. There's so many bathrooms everywhere. And like, especially in Arizona, where I'm at now, like, if you're a restaurant, you're legally required to have a bathroom. You're legally required to. You're also legally required to offer tap water to people that ask for it. If you're a food and beverage establishment, you're legally required to give them tap water for free. So these excuses just don't hold water. And then in addition to that, people will always go to the next one, which is, well, what about our veterans? Okay, like, what about our disabled veterans? Like, we just treat them so terribly. Listen. This is not Vietnam era anymore. It's not Vietnam. Okay? We're not treating our veterans like shit. We're not calling them baby killers and spitting on them and stuff like that. No one's doing that. No one is doing that. And the protocols have changed so much that regardless of how you separate from the military, whether it is due to administrative separation, a bad conduct discharge, just your contract ending, medical retirement, doesn't matter. When you leave the military, you are required, as in this is your appointed place of duty for your last week in the military, to take a seminar that's like a week long where they give you an entire overview of all the benefits afforded to you. They give you a big fat packet that shows you all the different programs that are available to veterans. They make you sign up for VA benefits, and now that particular part, not everyone does. They tell you about it, but not everyone forces you. My class particularly did force you to do it before you left. But they tell you about Save a Suit, where they'll give you a free suit, one free suit as a veteran. They tell you about Soldier's Best Friend, which will, if you have a medical disability that requires a service animal, they'll help train a service animal or get you with one. All these different benefits. They tell you about how you have free entry into national parks, all this shit. They give you all the resources. In addition to that, you go to the VA, every form and every time they give you any kind of questionnaire, one of the first questions is, are you at risk of being homeless? If you answer yes, they pair you with a program to help you not be homeless. So it's not resources, it's not a resource argument. What you're doing is you're being tricked by people holding up a sign, panhandlers holding up a sign saying, USMC vet or Army vet, down on my luck, blah, blah, blah. I can, for some reason, stand in the middle of the heat, in the middle of the day, in the middle of the summer, in the middle of Phoenix for 6 hours, but I can't fucking get a job for some reason. I'll take your money, though. You're being fooled by that because a lot of these people are lying to you, and there's no reason why someone couldn't just go to the VA, except if they were kicked out, and only under certain circumstances, because there's a lot of different characterizations of getting kicked out. 6 to be exact. So it's not just honorable, dishonorable, and like if they didn't like you, they give you a dishonorable. No. You have to commit a pretty heinous, felonious act to get a dishonorable discharge. you have to have like ran a meth lab in your barracks room to get a dishonorable discharge. You have to have like raped or whatever, graped a a child or something to get a dishonorable discharge. Like, they don't just hand it out. They legally can't do that. They can't just do it because they don't like you. There's so many legal precedents and stuff that don't allow you to do that. And so the what about the veterans argument is stupid. The what about the resources is stupid. Like, every one of these excuses is just that. It's an excuse. There just really is no reason why a grown adult can't find a way to meaningfully contribute in society, whether it be with just a fucking jack-in-the-box job, and they say, well, they're on drugs. It's a disease. They have an addiction. It's a disease. Nobody tackled you to the ground and forced a crack pipe in your face, okay? That is completely on you. You did that. Perfectly clear about that. You did that shit. You fucking did the drugs and started the cycle. Granted, I will grant this, that it's hard to break that cycle because at a certain point you're kind of not in control anymore because you resort to purely the primal urge of getting more drugs, But you fucking started it. It is on you. You need to take accountability for your fucking actions. It's on you. So where do we go from here? If you've gone this far and you've at least recognized that this makes sense, and you've recognized that, it is their fault. It is of their own doing in the overwhelming majority of cases. It's not just this, it's not just this evil landlord who just was completely, heartless and just kicked this family out and was happy about it. It's like, they want you to stay there, but they also need to collect their money. Like, it costs them money to maintain this property. If you've gotten this far and you can recognize that the arguments are solid against the excuses, where do we go from here? Well, I would posit, my hypothesis is that we need to stop making rehab voluntary. Because when you make it voluntary, you're now relying on a crackhead to make good decisions. They're just not going to do that. Like, they're going to go there for a couple of days to get their methadone, and then they're just not going to go back. And the statistics prove this out. Like, voluntary rehab has like a 1% success rate or something. It's an utter waste of time, energy, effort, and resources. It's a terrible waste of time. We need to make an involuntary rehab, which is similar to like a prison where we're isolating people from negative outside influence. Dry them the fuck out, make them take accountability courses, and build them back up. Problem is that some of these people are going to be beyond help. And a rather morbid decision needs to be made as to whether it's even going to be beneficial to keep them alive. And I know that's a very extremist position, but at the same time, it's like, I guarantee you, if we made this into a more personal situation and a more personal decision where your child stepped on an HIV infected needle because they left it at the park. And this is not even an out there hypothetical. They do this. They leave drug paraphernalia everywhere they go, and they absolutely hang out at the park all the fucking time. If your kid just playing accidentally steps on a syringe, contracts HIV, then would you act? Then would you say, all right, enough is enough. We got to do something about this. I say we act before that happens. Okay? We need to be more proactive and do something before that becomes an issue. And before terrible atrocities continue to occur, because they have happened already. But don't wait until it becomes personal. Let's act on it now. And there's some people that are literally beyond help. And either, exiling them to a location where they're just going to do literally the same thing to somebody else, whoever they're around, and they're going to, and it's not a good life. You know, it's just going to be a life of terrible. It's not even a life. It's barely living. You're just living from high to high, while committing terrible, terrible deeds to get the drugs. You know, stealing from grandma and mugging people and stuff, and committing atrocious sexual acts and zero dignity. Like, how is that even a life? You know. And so it's at this point where we have to make this really hard decision of, should we just pull the plug? I think in certain situations, yeah. Go through the program first, okay, where we're teaching them, we're empowering them to be accountable for their actions, but unfuck themselves, getting them off the drugs, showing them that this shit will not be tolerated. But there is a positive side to this. Like, hey, you fucked up and you fucked up and you fucked up, but hey, look how awesome this is. We're going to feed you healthy food. We're going to give you a healthy environment. And we're giving you one last chance. One last chance. And then that's it. This would get the people off the streets. It would get them off drugs. It would give them the best possible shot at redeeming themselves. And then at that point, we make the decision as to whether we just stop trying, but still disallow them to continue making our lives a living hell. And that, to me, is compassion. So let me know what you think. If you have any disagreements or something like that, go fuck yourself. No, I'm kidding. If you have any disagreements, let me know in the comments and stuff. This has just been me talking about the homelessness crisis. There's going to be plenty more videos about it. Yeah. So thanks again for listening. Have a great day.